Oh, you heard it right, folks. You heard it right. 3,750 tanks are going to battle it out here in Total Tank Simulator. Hello again, friends and fans. Raptor here, and welcome to the battle to end all battles, baby. So many tanks are going to be on the screen. It is going to be absolutely phenomenal, so get ready for some good fun. Hit that like button, show your support for the Rat Pack, and let me know down below who you think's going to win, Germany or the Soviet Union down below. Let's get started with our first tank battle. Here we go, best of 3. Now, of course, before we get started, I just need to do something real quick and basically fill up the entire map with tanks. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right, should be good. All right, and I think we've got, that should be enough. Good. And here we go, friends and fans, the first battle here in Total Tank Simulator. We've got T-3485s versus the lovely Panzer IIIs. Who do you think's going to win? Where are the Panzer IVs? Well, unfortunately, this is the only medium tank in the game for the Germans, so we'll have to see T-3485s 85mm versus just the 57 for the Germans. But it still is anybody's game. Who do you think's going to win? I gotta know down below. Let me know. Give me a Circle 7 salute and tell me, do you think the Germans or the Soviets are going to pull off a battle here today? Look at all the explosion. It is like the 4th of July. And we are fighting it out apparently in the deserts of the Soviet Union or the flatlands of Germany. I have no idea, but in the Valley of the Shadow of Death, what you see behind you, these two titans are battling it out and fighting for supremacy here. Who is going to win? Who's going to walk away with the golden tank trophy of victory? Of course, yes. All right, so who do you think is going to win? I need to know, because I've got my money on red, because the Red Army is coming and they've got their T-3485s. That 85mm of pain is probably going to penetrate that armor quite quickly, but I wonder what it would do against a Tiger or perhaps even a Panzer II. Yes, Panzer II is quite quick, and would they be able to outmaneuver those T-3485s? We don't know, but that's why we're running the test. So, T-3485s versus those wonderful Panzer IIIs. It looks like the Germans are trying to create a defensive line here, but oh wow, I see the Soviets are starting to bring up the rest of their forces from the rear and from the southern section as well. A lot of German tanks being destroyed here right now. Wow, that is impressive. There's a lot of explosions on all fronts. Look at that. Left, right, center, top, bottom, and everywhere. It looks like a crazy day. Oh, look at this. There are just tanks everywhere, carcasses everywhere, some smoking tanks as well. Smoking tank indicates an immobilized tank, and it's going to be quite interesting to see how the Soviets, if most of their army gets immobilized, will be able to finish off the Germans here. Though they may outnumber them now, it looks like perhaps about 250 to about 500. And yes, indeed, there was 1,250 tanks on the battlefield at the start here, so we're going to do 3 rounds here to see who the real winner is. We're going to step it up each time and give the Germans a better tank if they lose, or the Soviets. So it's still anybody's game here. I'm very excited to see out of these 3,000 tanks how many we happen to have left. And it looks like the Germans are down to about 300, maybe 350 tanks. And the Soviets probably up around 1,000. This is incredible. Though the Germans are not yet defeated, a lot of their vehicles are still immobilized, and the Russians are the Soviet forces just popping them off. That was my favorite Soviet commander of World War II, by the way. So we've still got enemy forces here that are starting to be eliminated. Oh man, who's going to win? Look at this, man. There are tanks everywhere, being destroyed everywhere, carcasses everywhere. Very interesting to see. Quite the unique simulator here to kind of run the test and see who will win the test of time for best tank. And it looks like the T-3485s have got the Panzer IIIs completely surrounded. Where are the Panzer IVs? I don't know. I hope they come in. This would be a perfect time for, oh man, if somebody could come in a bomber, maybe a B-52 nuclear, they would get all the victory here today. Look at that. A lot of the Soviet tanks in the lower right corner of the screen are smoking, and they're not Dutch, they're just disabled. Look at this, man. There are so many carcasses everywhere. This is incredible. Luckily, they do sink through the ground, and the enemy can roll, or any tank can roll over them. So, down to just a few tanks left. It looks like the Germans are really up against the ropes here, or at least what seems to be the wall of the Grand Canyon. So it looks like there's got to be at least, it looks like 250, maybe even 400 perhaps of Soviet tanks remaining. And I think we've got ourselves a Soviet victory here. The Soviets just simply need to finish off the remaining defending Germans here, and it's almost over. There's still a lot of German tanks, though, and I'm seeing a lot of disabled Soviet tanks. So it's going to be interesting to see, even with the least amount of tanks still on the field for the Soviets, what can they field for still operational units. I see a lot of explosions here. Oh man, this is really crazy. The blue blob's starting to move up there. Oh my god, there's explosions everywhere. The Soviets, almost all of their units are smoking. That is insane. They've really taken a heavy amount of damage from these Panzer IIIs, but you cannot challenge a T-34-85. The first victory then going to the Soviets. I need to know then from you, who do you think's going to win in the second round? Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we've got T-34-85s versus the 88mm Tiger tank. Oh man, it's going to be delicious. Soviet victory confirmed. On to the next one. Here we go. Alright, we're only on round 2, and this is the battle to end all battles. We've got T-34-85s versus Tiger tanks. Oh, 88 millimeters of pain, baby, and we already see a ton of explosions on the front line. Those Tiger tanks are running forward, baby. They may as well be cheetah tanks because they are advancing at full speed. Who do you think is going to win? Let me know down below in the comment section for round 2. Again, 1,250 tanks here battling it out, and thanks to you for hitting that like button to support it, baby, because I want to do more of these battles, and I want to know what you want to see next in this fantastic game. 1,000 mines versus an artillery gun. Who do you think's going to win? The mines could jump out and surprise you, especially if it's a bouncing Betty, but bam, look at these Tiger tanks. They're already punching through the Soviet lines. It's already a steamroller. Look at this. Are the T-34-85? What? War Thunder logic? What's going on here? It seems to be turning tables. I see a lot of T-34-85s exploding, but also a lot of German tanks exploding already, and it looks like a lot of tanks are already smoking as well, which means they're immobilized and not going to be able to advance, but still could bring a fight if the enemy comes close. T-34-85 seem to be trying to make a northern push, but it looks like they're being turned to dust right away, and that front line immediately collapsing at that 88 millimeters of pain. The T-34-85 having a little bit better armor with the slope, but the Tiger also not something you want to fug with. Looks like the Germans are actually casually sitting off on the right side laying their eggs on the beach as they believe they're sea turtles, and over on the left side it looks like the Soviets are starting to become aware that there's actually a war. The Germans now looks like they're controlling about what, 55% of the map? Oh, that is insane. Look at that. Oh, all that destruction, all that death. Oh, that is crazy. Now, who do you think's going to win? I would definitely probably say the Germans are going to pull out a victory here today. And look at that, man. There are just tanks everywhere being destroyed, blown up, obliterated. Just an incredible amount of destruction going on here today in this fantastic game. I love it. Look at that. Oh, there's smoking tanks everywhere. Looks like the Germans are starting to push, but it is too little too late because the Soviets are starting to they got their counterattack there. Could they possibly push them back? But look at all those, oh man, those Tiger tanks. There's a crazy amount of them. There seems to be 4 groups of like 50 tanks on the map, not to mention a southern group that's trying to do a flank around. They're getting heavily hit and they're being immobilized, but the T-34-85s are trying to hold their ground, mostly because they're immobilized, and thank God the Soviets got smart to actually hold their position. But I might have to predict this one already. I think perhaps, yes, the Tiger tanks, the German army claiming a victory here. 85 versus 88, looks like that couple extra millimeters, 3 extra millimeters, 4 extra millimeters, 5 extra millimeters, doesn't matter. Let me do some math here. I think it's 17 millimeters. We're really making the difference here. So T-34-85s pretty much being brushed aside, and the German blob just kind of preoccupied of digging itself. Yes, classic Germans to be very distracted by sand. They love sand. They build sand castles all the time on the beach, and maybe that's a Normandy thing, but I don't know. Anyway, T-34-85s being pushed back to the corner. Those that are not immobilized are running, and those that are immobilized may as well self-destruct because this one is over. T-34-85s versus Tigers. It looks like the T-34-85 has been outclassed at this time. Well, that's unfortunate. I really would like to see more dead Tigers, but it looks like most of them are already dead because they're sleeping. Actually, if you look, the whole front, the German front line is actually smoking, preventing all the other tanks from getting through. The T-34 has actually created a roadblock with their own tanks. So a little lull, extra lull point for the Germans, but or for the Soviets, but a German victory. One last time, here we go, folks. I need to know from you who you think is going to be the ultimate winner. The Germans having one victory, the Soviets having one victory, and now we've got KV-1s, which are, I think, KV-2s, but they look like KV-1s versus Tiger 88mm, baby. So very interesting in this game. They do classify the Soviet heavy tank as a KV-2, but if you zoom in on it, the model is a KV-1, so perhaps it's a KV-3, which I don't even know what that would be. A nuclear missile launching toaster, for all I know. Perhaps Metal Gear. All right, T-34-85s are all gone, and it looks like it's now being replaced by the Tiger tank and the KV-1s. Wow, that's amazing. We are now seeing the heavy versus heavy battle. It is more evil even ever before. What? I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, wow, in the Valley of the Shadow of Death, there's a lot of death and destruction. Again, I mentioned this because we are in the Canyon of Fun, and it looks like the gun of the KV-2, aka the KV-1, I have no idea, is already doing some heavy damage here on the Germans. Looks like there's a front line yet again. Could this hinder the German reinforcements from getting to the front line? You set up your beach chairs and put a couple of beers in the sand, boys. Because, well, that would be a horrible idea. That's a criminal act, so don't do that. Bring your cooler and grab your sun shades and also your sunscreen, because this is going to be one hell of a battle that's going to just continue to make the earth just soar with all the death and destruction here, man. The amount of fire, destruction, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. I'm so privileged with this above ground view too, so we can see everything here. Usually I'd be at ground level, but we're in the nice helicopter today, which you can't even hear at all. But man, it is nice to see. We've got the Germans advancing, and it looks like they're starting to hold their front line. Looks like they're actually pushing up to their front line, the line that they about 50% in, replacing a lot of their dead comrades. But perhaps the KV-2s, if German tanks get clumped up, could perhaps a heavy HE round could be causing a lot of internal spalling for some of these tanks. We just don't know. A lot of German tanks starting to advance now from the rear, and it looks like the Soviets are doing the same. The Soviets have probably lost about 25% of their command. The Germans at maybe 10%. Wow, this is very interesting to see. The Germans are starting to push forward, and they're really starting to gain territory. That 88mm is being put on a lot of pressure to the Germans. That is, or the Germans putting so much pressure on the Soviets. I think this might be the end right here for the Soviets. A lot of their tanks being damaged and destroyed, but the Germans really starting to push. It looks like, well, they're trying to anyway. They always get roadblocked there. I don't know what's up with those Germans, but they always something always seems to happen with those goofballs. But it looks like the Soviets are attempting some sort of a flank in the south. Very interesting. What's going on? What are you up to, Soviets? It looks like a couple of their tanks are exploding every time they try something. In the north, the Soviets starting to sneak around. I don't know why they're doing that all the time there, but they're just crazy there, guy. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. Do we have KV-2s? Do we have KV-1s? Please, somebody call in a nuke or something. Soviets, you're getting pushed out. What's going on? This could be over very shortly. The Soviets down to just a few tanks compared to the Germans, but a lot of those German tanks are all just bunched up, which makes that force of resistance very difficult to get around. They've got to get through quite a lot of millimeters, quite a lot of 88mm guns in order to try to claim a victory here today. But I think the Soviets are out of their fighting force. Could it be an ultimate German victory here today? I hope you'll let me know down below in the comments section on who you thought would win the first round, second round, and third round. And I hope you were right. But it seems like this fight could possibly be over with the amount of Tiger tanks we see here today. It looks like our favorite little kitty is going to be victorious. The Soviets, they're going to have to try something big. They're going to have to pull out something huge here to pull it around, but I don't think they can cut back against those kinds of numbers. The KV-2, or in this case possibly the KV-1, having a gun that it could possibly be smaller or longer to load than the 88mm, making that 88mm an absolute killer here in the battlefield, making this a possible German victory here today. I don't know, folks. Oh man, I'm just seeing a couple of tanks left. I don't know what's going to happen. Oh, what is that? A tactical nuke inbound? No, not really. But the Soviets are going to need a laser cannon or something to pull off this victory. But Soviets not going to get it. Nope, no orbiting stellinium round is going to come into those Germans today, and the rest of those KV-1, KV-2 tanks are being finished off. So anyway, that is going to be it for this fantastic tank battle. Oh man, that is it. The Germans just pushing the Soviets completely off like sweeping dirt under a rug. It's just a few more tanks advancing now, and they've just got to destroy a few more Soviet tanks, and that is it. The Soviets just not having any sort of chance here against that 88mm. The KV-1 having some very impressive armor, or the KV chassis in general, but just not enough to compete here against all of the German armor advancing, and a lot of them actually having a picnic out in the back. Looks like they're having themselves synthetic motor oil, which is a very nice delicacy around this time of year. But an ultimate German victory here in this fantastic game, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and until next time, keep your passwords and your pimp hands strong. And again, don't forget to hit that like button to support the game if you want to see some more. And a special thanks to the good guys over at Noobs from Poland for being so newbie and for being from Poland. I don't know what the hell that matters, but German victory. I will see you next time. Password pimp hands strong. Thanks for the support. Woo!